Hi, my name is Dexter Skepple. I am a proud member of the Office of Gun Violence Prevention under the great leadership of Anthony Emmanuel. Today, I want to talk about child trauma. There are a lot of times that a child could be traumatized by maybe an event or events that he or she have seen. And I want to talk about this. When I was about 9 years old, I saw one of my brothers accidentally shot one of my brother up close. And that actually traumatized me for years because I was right there when it happened and it had a profound negative impact on my life. And I want to talk to you, parents and grandparents and friends. Maybe you know someone that may have seen gun violence, or maybe you have been around gun violence. And I want to talk about the effects of something that has traumatized you, maybe in your life, and you need to address it. Anything that is buried alive never dies. Let me say that again. Anything that's buried alive never dies. You and I, we need to address childhood trauma that may even be in some of our children today. Trauma is something real. Trauma is something that cannot just be pushed aside and hope one of these days that it just disappears on its own. It never disappears. We have to deal with it in order for it to go away. It's like a flat tire. You know, when your tire is flat, you can't just hope and pray one of these days that you wake up and it's gone. You have to deal with it. And let's go through some of the things today that has to deal with childhood trauma. First of all, one of the main things that happens to children that are traumatized by an event or events that they've seen, it could probably be maybe domestic violence. Sometimes domestic violence in a household can traumatize a child. That is something that is not every child deals with divorce in the same way. And some may just shrug it off, and others, it may hurt them internally. Another thing that can traumatize your child or your grandchildren, it could be the separation, amen, of both parents. And you and I, we need to know how to deal with that as it arises in our children. There are a lot of kids today in the U.S. Virgin Islands that are traumatized from the events that they have seen and they have been partaking in for years, and it could affect them in a profound negative way. It could affect them in their schooling. It could affect them when they go on the playground. It could affect them for the rest of their life. And you and I, we have to learn to address childhood trauma. Maybe you need to find somebody somewhere, somehow, that can help your child go through the trauma that they may have went through even now as a child. One of the ways, or one of the things also that affects a child with their trauma, this is one of the critical one. It could be the mental health of one of the parent. If one or both of the parent is having mental health challenges, it could traumatize that child in some form, in some way. One child told me just recently, he said this, he said, you know, seeing that body laying on the ground, it really makes me cry at night. And sometimes I'm afraid to go to sleep because I'm thinking that the man that killed that man is going to come after me one day. This is the words of a child. And if you and I do not address the trauma that's in a child, it can grow to bigger and greater things. And you have to learn how to deal with childhood trauma that may be in a child. Never tell a child, never, just get over it. You have to get over it. Stop crying. You have to provide a place of comfort. You have to provide a place that that child feels comfortable in sharing their hurts, their fears, and things that are going on the inside of that child. If you know a child that's been traumatized by the event or events that's going on in their life, reach out. You and I, as a community, we have to help people or help children that are traumatized in any form, in any which way. One of the things that helps a child even to become even more traumatized is not just the separation or the domestic violence, but it could be substance abuse that may be in that family. And sometimes I remember as a child to see my dad drink and to become drunk, and that could traumatize you forever. And you have to learn how to deal with trauma. And one of the greatest ways to deal with trauma is to get help. Not to get help 10 years from now, but to get help today, because childhood trauma is real. We cannot just dismiss it, because childhood trauma not only leads to violence, but it can even lead to gun violence. And there's so many of us who have seen violence over and over and over and over again. And it's important. I want to stress it's important for you to get help. You have to get help. You have to help somebody to get help. Maybe find that counselor, that therapist, that pastor, somebody, an elder that you could talk to so that you can get through childhood trauma. Again, I want to remind you that it is never going to go away because we wish it away or we just don't think about it. Remember, anything that is buried alive never dies. And we have to deal with childhood trauma before it deals with us. Again, I'm a proud member of the Office of Gun Violence Prevention under the great leadership of Anthony Emmanuel. Thank you for your time.